Hello? Yeah, I'll be right there. Hi, Kelly. Welcome to the Jersey Girl podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me in your house.
Of course.
It's so cute. And you're on the couch. It's like so comfy.
Oh,
I
good.
can get
I'm
like
glad.
relaxed.
Yeah, definitely relax.
So I know we're gonna really be getting into a lot of different stuff today between mental health and personal training and being like an instructor and a fitness instructor. But before we get started, can you give everyone a little background into yourself and kind of more like a surface level of who you are?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Kelly. I grew up in New Jersey. I was born and raised in Pawnee, New Jersey, and I went to college. I actually went to CCM for a little bit, and then I wound up transferring and going to college out in California. Loved it there, but missed the East Coast inevitably. There I studied psychology, graduated with my bachelor's in psychology. I worked for a long time not a long time, but I worked for a considerable amount of time at a teen drug and alcohol and mental health residential facility. So learned a lot there. Came back to the East Coast. Primarily, my goal was to get my master's in social work. I did one semester at Columbia, hated it, dropped out, and then kind of started pursuing more of the fitness world. I'm a yoga instructor. I started managing a boutique fitness studio. COVID hit, kind of had to pivot back into sort of the mental health space, started working in startups. And the last 4.5 years of my life has kind of been a blending of my two passions of fitness and mental health and healthcare. So that's kind of a lot for a blanket statement. Fun facts though, I love Bravo. So like anything Bravo reality TV is like my obsession. My whole family lives here in Morristown, so that's nice. And so
I think we'll get into more as we go.
We'll get into more.
I definitely want to get into you said the teen like drug and like alcohol.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really interesting to talk more about too. Before we get more into that, we were talking about when I first came out CCM and about how like you actually like enjoyed it and like you did. Did you live at home when you went to CCM?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
So I lived at home when I went to CCM. So my educational background was kind of wild. A lot due to my own struggles with mental health. I kind of had to drop out of college, go back and forth. And so I went to a total of 4 universities.
Okay.
All great universities. CCM was hands down my favorite.
Yeah.
I had the best professors there. Um, it is definitely a place though where I feel like, and I feel like community college in general, I'm a big proponent of it. It's my community college. But if you're somebody who's not self motivated, like it's really easy to fall through the cracks there. But if you are somebody who's self-motivated and really wants to learn, there are so many resources. Like I was in a public speaking course and I did well, and randomly the professor was like, "Would you like to host like the CCM fashion show?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to host the CCM fashion show."
Yeah.
So I just think it's a really great school, and I think more people need to lean into community college and go. I learned a lot. I also learned a lot about myself. And living at home during a time when I was struggling was helpful.
No, I agree because I don't like school. School's not my thing, but I've really been able to find like my groove, and I feel like you feel very independent, which I feel like I wouldn't have felt that in county college, but now going to and like even still like my parents, I still feel like that independency.
Definitely,
Because like I've made friends there, but it's still kind of like you go and you do your school and you leave. Like, it's not a very social thing, and I feel like that's not a bad thing either.
No. I think it's more like the real world because when you have a job and you're no longer just living with your friends and like partying Tuesday to Sunday, like that's reality. And I think a lot of people really struggle with that transition. So if you've been already doing that, like you're already ahead of the curve.
I'm taking public speaking right now, but I'm doing it online because I didn't want to do it in front of a classroom, which I probably defeats the purpose. But like,
I don't blame
whatever.
you.
I have Dr. Singh some of the P.
I cannot even remember who I had. He was a younger guy. But I like loved it.
All the professors are so nice there. I have met one
so
professor.
great.
Actually, I had one online professor last time. So I was like, but like everyone else, I'm like, they're so nice, they're so welcoming. Like, it's really not like I feel like as long as you take advantage of it. Like at first, I was very like, I don't want to be here. I'm like,
Totally.
but now that I'm like, hey, like this is what I'm meant to do. Like this is where I'm at. Like I've been able to really like open my mind and open my like heart, like being okay with being at county college.
Yeah, and also it's like a really gorgeous campus.
I haven't really walked around the campus. I've been like
It's
Cohen
so
and
pretty.
Demare.
Okay.
whatever the name is, the mayor and Cohen, so I don't ever leave those. So I haven't really seen the campus yet.
Okay. Yeah, it's really pretty. I mean, especially now, it's probably all like gross and stuff.
Yes.
But like in the summertime, it's so pretty, and I don't know, it's just a hidden gem. And this is like a total aside, but I have a very good friend, she's a childhood friend, and she met her husband there, and I call him the CCM gem.
No,
So I'm
that's the
like,
little rhyming.
yeah, I'm like, you found him in the rough of CCM.
When you said doing, it was after college. You went to the teen alcohol and drug thing, or that during college?
So during college, I started working there. I was
Okay.
a senior at Pepperdine, which is in Malibu, home of like a million
So
and one
pretty.
rehabs. And I actually wound up working there because I was taking a psychopharmacology class,
Okay.
and we were required to do, I think it was only like 10 hours of um, volunteer work in the substance abuse space. And I had a friend who was like, "Oh, I got this gig at this treatment center called Paradigm Malibu. It's for teens.
Mhm.
Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds good to me." I worked there one day, and I just loved it. And they were like, "Do
Mhm.
you want to stay on as like a tech, basically on the floor with the kids?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Sure." So I
Yeah.
worked there my whole senior year, and then I worked there for a bit afterwards as well. I moved into their admissions
Mhm.
department.
How was that?
It was amazing. I
Mhm.
loved it. It definitely was heavy at
Yeah.
times. I saw a lot of things.
Mhm.
I learned
Mhm.
a lot of very sad stories, but then also a lot of amazing, amazing growth,
Yeah.
especially because I would see these kids, I would do intake assessments. So I would see them the day they came in, like really, really struggling. And then to watch them kind of flourish and
Yeah.
grow throughout their time. And then now it's been 8 years, 7, 8 years since I worked there, and I've had kids find me on Instagram. They're no longer
Mm.
kids on Instagram and stuff, and reach out to me and be like, "Hey, like I don't know if you remember me, but like you were one of the techs when I was there. Or you did my intake assessment, and like just to let you know, like I
Yeah.
graduated college, or
Mhm.
I'm getting married, or like I'm doing really well." And just like to think that I had an impact on their journey is
Yeah.
so so meaningful.
Is that when you really decided you want to work in mental health space, or is that something that like came out of you being called and wanting to work in the mental health space?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a mix. So I had my own personal journey with mental health struggles, and so I think I kind of was always on the fence of like, do I want to do this? Do I
Yeah.
not want to do this? Is this too close to home? Is this not? But then once I saw how impactful that work was and how much I
Mhm.
truly enjoyed it, that's when I felt like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Um, Ironically, though, it was when I went to grad school that I was like, actually, just kidding, this isn't what I want to do. And that's when
Yeah.
I kind of took a few steps back and kind of pivoted more into the fitness world. There's quite a big overlap.
Yeah.
I know for myself, like I've found a lot of healing with my own mental health in the fitness world, and that's really the energy I try to bring to my classes or whenever I'm working in any sort of fitness studio. But now I'm back in the mental health world, and I think the role I'm in now is good because I'm not so deep in the weeds with clients. I'm
Yeah.
kind of meeting them where they're at the front door and then getting them connected and passed off to the right care.
Mhm.
So I did think I wanted to actually be a therapist after my time working there, but then I was like, "Ugh,
Not for you,
not
yeah.
for
'Cause it's
me."
very a heavy job. Like you take on
Yes,
everyone else's like burdens. Like you know what I mean? I mean
absolutely.
they're not really burdens, but you know what I mean.
No,
You're
it's
listening to people, and then like you obviously you're gonna think about your clients. How are they doing? Are they?
right.
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna not overthink, but you really care about.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot, and I don't think a lot of people realize this. When you go specifically to social work school and your master's in social work, right away you are thrown into a placement. So I was thrown in 3 days a week to a placement in Harlem in a very low income school,
Yeah.
meeting with seventh grade girls, and the stories they would come to me with were so gut wrenching and very different from what I was facing with my clients in Malibu. Also gut wrenching, but different
Yeah.
socioeconomic status, different access to resource. Not to say one is like harder or easier than the other, but these girls would come to me with these horrible stories, and there was quite literally nothing I could do
Yeah.
except try to, be their cheerleader. But I mean, the stuff they would share with me was so so dark, and I would go to my supervisor, and she's like, "That's the reality of working in this type of world." And I just felt it felt disempowering, and I
Yeah.
was like, you know what, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. You want to at least feel like you can help and do something, which is the role you're in now. You get to do that.
Yeah,
How'd you end up
definitely.
in this role you're in now?
So in this role, I was working for a different startup company, and I had a friend who was working at Octave, the company I work for now, and
Okay.
she was like, "We're hiring in this role. It's called a care
Mhm.
navigator. I think you'd be great at it." So I was like, "Okay, like I'll check it out." Um, and I interviewed, I got the
Mhm.
position, and that's really what I love. I loved working in admissions as well. Like I love just being that front door,
Yeah.
that person that's like, you know what, I know right now you feel like you're not going to see the other side of this, but I promise you, you are, and I'm going to help work out all the details and like those nitty gritty things that are just feel so tedious to get
Yeah.
access to care. I'm going to help you get through that, and then I get them connected and pass them along, and I can kind of be a little cheerleader alongside, but I'm not in the
Yeah.
weeds, like working through it with them. But if
Yeah.
they have an issue or they have a question or if they don't jive with the therapist I matched them with, like they can always come back to me and
Yeah.
I can, help them.
Yeah. So how did we get into the fitness space too? So we know
Yeah.
how we got into mental health space, but how did we get into the fitness space also?
So fitness, I grew up a dancer. I
Mhm.
love fitness. I always, was called to yoga and movement as a way to help manage my own anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, and specifically though, group fitness, I feel like is my like passion, bread and butter fitness classes. Like, I geek out over it.
Mhm.
When I was at Pepperdine as a student, I was working at the mental health center. I was, you know, bogged down in school. But I was also very lonely. I was like very much ready to come home, I think.
Yeah.
When Pure Bar Malibu opened, which unfortunately is no longer there, but their owner Cynthia is like the most amazing human.
Yeah.
And I just always felt so welcomed there,
Mhm.
and they became my family. And I was like, this is why I come. Like the workout's great, like I love all of that, but
Yeah.
like I come because they would remember that I had an exam. And then I'd
Yeah.
come in, they'd be like, how was the exam? How's your mom doing? Like,
Mhm.
what are your plans for the weekend? And it was just like
Yeah.
those little things that I was like, I want to be part of this. Like I want to make people feel safe, like
Yeah.
feel safe in a space that I think a lot of times can also be really scary for
Yeah.
people, especially if I came from a background of dancing, and so it is a little bit second nature to me, but so many people walk through the doors petrified. And so if we can just be a warm environment and like
Mhm.
an escape and a safe place, like I'm all about that. So I
Mhm.
wanted to be part of that in any way, shape, or form possible.
Yeah.
So I started more like working at the front desk of places, and then I became a certified yoga instructor, and I kind of transitioned into bar, and um, now I work at Angel, which is an
Mhm.
amazing studio, which I literally never thought I'd be a strong enough instructor to teach at. Um, so yeah, it's kind of all intertwined with like my own mental health journey and my
Yeah.
own journey towards like health and
Mhm.
wellness. That led me to both fitness and
Yeah. Growing up, I also had a lot of anxiety, and I still
mhm,
do.
same.
And I feel like no, yep, yeah, it just goes in different forms.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, I did like yoga as a kid. I
Yes.
danced, obviously. We were talking about earlier. I did cycle. Like I found like the little outlets, and
Definitely.
for me, movement was so big at helping cope with that. And I feel like now it got worse over the past couple months because I wasn't moving, and now
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure I run every day, or I'm doing PT, or I'm trying to go to fitness classes. And
Absolutely.
also, I guess moving on to what you're saying about the group fitness space, I worked in group fitness, the front desk for a couple of years, and it's just so inspiring and like
Hmm.
so cool to create a community. Like
Yes.
people would come in, I would be the person like, oh, like how was this in your life? Like I was that
Yes.
person, and just like
Exactly.
having the people who knew my name, people were excited to see me at the front
Yes.
desk. So just like you feel like you have a sense of purpose, and it's a
Absolutely.
whole community that like people who aren't in group fitness, whether they're working out or instructor or front desk, you just like don't
You don't
understand.
get it. Totally. And I am just so obsessed with it. And I don't know, it's so special. And I know like some people are like, that sounds ridiculous, but it can just be such a special place for people. And also, you have no idea what people are walking in those doors with. You don't
Yeah,
like everybody comes to group fitness for a different reason. I think there's this assumption that people are coming just to like work out and burn calories or
yeah,
whatever that, maybe. And sure, there are people that that's their only goal there. But I think I would argue majority of people, they're looking for more than just that, because if
yeah,
that's all they wanted, they could just walk on a treadmill at home,
yeah.
Like, I think people are craving more, and
Mhm.
so, it's so important to me to foster that
Yeah.
community.
Well, Jane do like I've seen the videos and pictures. It's like a fun girly
Oh my
atmosphere,
gosh, it is
like
amazing.
it just seems almost like you're all in like the room getting ready together, but instead you're working. It gives
Yeah,
those vibes.
definitely. It's all about female empowerment.
Mhm.
I mean, the 2 founders, I should say,
Mhm.
are just absolute badass businesswomen. Like,
Yeah.
it is such a safe space to just really be yourself.
Mhm.
And it's really just about uplifting women, meeting you where you're at, pushing you, but in a way that's also really loving and silly and
Yeah.
fun. And like, we're all friends. And that's also really unique, I think. in the fitness space too, I'm sure you've seen and experienced, there definitely can be places that might look like they're super
Yeah.
uplifting and positive on the outside, but like inside there's so much chaos going on, and
Yeah.
that could not be further from the
Yeah.
truth at Jane. Like everybody is truly just your biggest cheerleader.
There are some group fitness studios that definitely have a little bit of drama because there's always
Yes.
drama wherever you
Of
go.
course, of course.
But especially like I've seen and noticed some that have like more drama than normal.
Definitely.
But
Definitely. I mean, anywhere you go there's gonna be drama, but it's like that's we're not about that there. Like
yeah.
we're really just about making people feel
Mhm.
good. It's specifically women. We do love our Jane dudes as well, as that's what they call the guys who come, but it's primarily to just make women feel like complete
Yeah.
badasses.
I'm so excited to take the class tomorrow morning.
It's gonna be so
I have to
fun.
like sculpt and dance with the two I want to do. I'm a little
Yeah,
nervous to do trampoline. I'm doing
you're gonna
that
be just
on
fine.
Thursday, but like I don't know.
So fun. It's just fun. Like, and it doesn't matter if you get the routine right. Like that's what I tell everybody. I'm like, I literally do not care. Like,
Yeah.
if you tell me you had fun and got a good sweat, like, check, you were amazing.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
What does your typical day look like for you balancing the two very distinct but complementary roles?
Yeah, it's a lot. um, so my regular job is a traditional 9 to 5. I'm
Mhm.
very, very lucky that I'm primarily remote.
Mhm.
So depending on if I'm teaching morning or evening, or today, for example, I taught 6 a.m., so I was up super early.
I did not make it. I
It's
did not
okay.
make it. I was
No
signed up.
judgment.
Did not make
No
it.
judgment. No judgment. Taught, came home. Well, go to Starbucks, of
Yeah.
course. Went to Starbucks, came home, showered, ate breakfast, then got to work.
Mhm.
From like 8:30 to 4:30. Um, you know, managing my clients, doing all my admin work,
Yeah.
emailing, all that good stuff. And then typically I would either in the evening kind of wind down, start planning my classes for the next day. Like tomorrow I teach in the evening. So
Mhm.
really wanting to make sure I have my playlist all set, my classes planned, um, dinner, maybe spend some time with my boyfriend, and then watch Bravo and go to
Yep.
bed.
What's your favorite show on Bravo to watch?
Oh
Don't
my
mind.
gosh. Currently,
Yeah.
Southern Hospitality.
Really? Shows my parents love reality TV.
Really? See, my parents are like,
No, my parents love it, especially my dad too gets into it. Like,
that's so
what's even
funny.
on Bravo? I'm trying to think of what like the Real Housewives they all watch. Is that E or is that Bravo?
That's Bravo. Yeah, all the Real
Yeah,
Housewives. I mean, there's
that.
Jersey, New York,
Yeah.
um, OC, Beverly Hills,
Mhm.
Atlanta, Potomac,
You're like, I know.
Miami.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny. I have like around my house, like in my kitchen, I have a few quotes, and then in my bathroom. And when I moved in here, my dad was like, "This is like a big girl home now. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna get rid of the Bravo stuff?" I was like, "Are you kidding me?
I
Absolutely not."
have like an apartment. Like especially when I get my own place again too. I'm like I'm supposed to make it girly and fun because
Yeah,
as long as I'm not living with another guy or like a guy in general, like a boyfriend or a husband, like I'm making my own. Like what are you
yeah.
talking about?
They're not going anywhere. So
Yeah, exactly. When you're in group fitness too, a lot of people hit a wall when they're in like their routine. I feel
yes,
like motivated. So how have you been able to try to foster creating motivation and creating people that want to come to class?
yeah, definitely. Well, I think so much um, goes into like the class planning. I think as instructors, it's so important to always remember like we do this all the time. Like it can become very routine, just like everything else. But
Mhm.
it's so important that you make your class exciting. So whether that be switching up your playlist, trying new moves out, um, like asking people, do you guys want to do a theme or like,
Yeah.
putting on Instagram, like give me your song request, anything like that to just really make sure that clients know like they're heard. And also another thing, if clients are missing, like if I see somebody who's usually in the studio 3 days a week and they haven't been there all week and, I know they're not on vacation or anything, sending them a text or reaching out to them on Instagram, just like, hey, just want to check in. Like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Are you sick? Like, we notice you're not there. And I think a lot of times people think, like, oh, nobody will notice. They don't, there's 24 people in that
Yeah.
room. How would they ever know? And it's like, oh no, like I'm counting on all of
Yeah.
you to come because you give me energy too.
Yeah.
And I'm, want to make sure you're good. And if there's something I've ever done or said, or if anything in this space ever made you uncomfortable and like, you didn't want to come, like I want you to tell me because I want to make sure that's
Yeah.
corrected immediately.
What other? We talked kind of about this earlier, but what do you think the main benefits are to group fitness classes compared to like just training by yourself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's obviously always there's benefits as long as you're moving your body, like
Yeah.
that's great. But I think for me personally,
Mhm.
it's so much more fun.
Yeah.
I think, being in a group with people really inspires you to keep going. I
Yeah.
think it's so easy to go to the gym and walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes and be like, that's good enough.
Yeah.
And some days it is good enough, but I think a lot of times people are selling themselves short. So when you're in a space where you're being guided by an instructor, plus you have that community of people around you, it kind of holds you
Yeah.
accountable. Also, just the community, like we talked about. Some of my best friends are people I've met through group fitness.
Yeah.
One of the other trainers at Jane Dew is a girl, Abby, who we met when she lived in Hoboken. I lived in Jersey City, and we just were going to the same classes pretty consistently. Like we'd see
Yeah.
each other at Soul Cycle or something. And
Mhm.
one of us, to this day, we don't even know who it was brave enough to send the first DM and say, like, hey, are you going to so and so's class on Sunday? Want to get coffee after? Immediate friends. I was in her wedding. Like, we are
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
close. And I would never have met her if it
Yeah.
weren't for group fitness. So, I think the community, the friendships it builds, and it's kind of that third place. I don't know if you've like heard this kind of concept, but especially now that so many people work from home, we're
Yeah.
lacking like that third space to kind of go to, which I
Yeah.
think historically for a lot of people was the office. So now having like a fitness studio to go to, that's kind of like your third space. You can
Yeah.
leave your chaos of like home and work and the stress you have day to
Yeah.
day and like go there and like that's just for you for an hour or however
Yeah.
long you're there.
Especially you were saying like too, I feel like after COVID and everything, like you're hold on, words. Like you were saying after COVID, people are really lacking the communication, the social skills, and I feel like also when you graduate high school and college,
Yeah.
there's no other place for you to go and make friends.
No.
Like when you're in college and high school, you're kind of forced to be with people, but like now
Exactly.
that we're all older, we're getting out of the jobs and stuff. Like I feel like you need that extra space to make friends and have another community.
Definitely. And I think too, fitness studios draw like-minded people together. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can go to the bars and meet friends and like there's no harm in that, but I think if you're looking for something a little bit deeper, you're going to be more likely to find people who
Yeah.
share the same values as you in
Mhm.
like a like wellness or fitness
Yeah.
space.
What challenges have you faced as a fitness instructor, and have you overcome
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm facing challenges every day as a fitness instructor. I mean, it's hard work. It's sometimes you teach a really bad class. Like
them?
I'm not gonna lie, it happens all the time where words don't come out. I
Yeah.
tell people the wrong thing. I say something I wish I didn't say.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that um, I've had to learn and really work on is self compassion, recognizing like I'm a human too, and really leaning on other fitness instructors for support and advice. And I think Jane Dew is a great example of that, like, where it's, I really feel I could turn to anybody at that studio
Yeah.
and be like, I'm just like, this isn't making sense to me, or like I'm not understanding how to make this playlist flow better or whatever it may be. And they're like, oh, let's sit down, let's work through it together. So
Yeah.
like also dropping that ego of like,
Mhm.
I don't need help, I'm good enough.
Yeah.
I think that's, a huge thing to overcome. Um, and something I've had to really
Yeah.
work on.
Because everyone's learning at the same time. Like I feel like being a
Yeah,
fitness instructor is like hard because as much as you need to motivate others, you need to motivate yourself, and it's
definitely.
definitely a different space than what a lot like not a lot of people are
Yeah.
instructors.
And another thing too is you have to show up for your clients no matter what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
You could be going through a breakup, you could have had somebody pass away, you could have lost your full time. I mean, there's so many things you could be walking in to the studio with, and you still need to show up for your
Yeah.
clients. And that can be really hard sometimes.
Mhm.
I mean, I think being a fitness instructor has gotten me through some of the most
Yeah.
challenging times. But on the flip side, like there's definitely been times where I've been like, I don't know if I can go in there without crying. But you somehow do it and you collect that energy and
Yeah.
positivity from others to really be able to
Yeah.
push through.
I feel like it's a very fun and different job because like you get like the energy from everyone else. Like you know what I mean? You
Absolutely.
walk in, you could be having a bad day, but like since you have to kind of fake it till you make it,
Yes,
then everyone else is giving you the energy, and then you kind of like
definitely.
get the energy too. Like you can't really be that upset at a group fitness
No,
class.
you definitely can't. And I can't tell you how many times either taking group fitness or teaching where
Mhm.
I've been kind of like, like I don't really want to go.
Yeah.
I've never once left unhappy. I'm always at least
Yeah.
like doubly as happy as I
You
walked
just
in.
gotta get yourself there.
You
That's the
just have to
hardest
get
part. It's like
yourself
going to the
there.
gym. It's the hardest part is just
Yes.
getting there, and once you're there, like,
Yeah.
It's like, kinda, like, make it through and after you got there.
Yeah, you got there and you're like, "Oh my god, that last song was amazing, and I got my leg 2 inches higher than I thought I ever
Yeah.
would," and, whatever it may be.
Mhm. What's your favorite class to teach there as of right now?
Step. I
Mhm.
love step because it is such a mental workout as well as a
Mhm.
physical workout because there are so many moving pieces. Plus, I always said I wish I was a teen in the 80s and it just gives like 80s fitness vibes,
Yeah.
which I love. But I think the fact that, especially as somebody who has an anxious mind and
Yeah.
can be thinking about 25 million things at once,
Agree.
it
Mhm.
forces me to think about literally nothing else except like do not slip off the
Yeah.
step. Like you need to know where you're going at all times.
Yeah.
And the second you think like, did I pick that up from the grocery store? Like you have
Yeah.
lost the routine. So it really forces you to be present, which, is really, really hard to
What's the
do.
trampoline class like? Like, do you enjoy doing that one too? Is it
I
fun?
love tramp. I prefer taking tramp than teaching it, to be
Yeah.
completely honest. But it's so fun. That also is another one where you're just always thinking. What's so great about tramp though is that it's low impact.
Yeah.
So for anybody who has any sort of knee joint issues, you're still going to get an insane cardio workout without
Yeah.
any pressure on
That's
your
me. I
joints.
have I have joint pain.
Yeah. So that's why it's so great. And that's also what I love about Jane Do is that we have 5 formats. So there's something for everybody, no matter like where you're coming in, fitness level wise, injury level wise, um, no matter your goals, like we
Mhm.
can meet you there.
Where would you wanna see yourself in the next, like, 3 to 5 years in your different jobs and, like, doing what you love, following your passions?
Yeah. So this is such a great question and something I think about all the time. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't know. I want
Yeah.
to do everything. My dream has always been to own a
Mhm.
studio and own my own business. Um, so I would love for that to happen. But I do still always feel like I wanna have some sort of foot in the mental health world,
Yeah.
and I do, for my job, you know, I'm a care navigator, so I'm matching clients to therapists, and I feel like I have a like, I'm good at
Yeah.
it, and I enjoy doing it, like, I'll do it for friends and
Yeah.
family members. It's something I feel very passionate about it, so I'm like, I wonder if I could, like, also start my own little, like, side business just
Yeah.
helping people get connected to care and also understanding their health insurance and things like
Mhm.
that. So I've kind of been looking into how I could have my own
Yeah. I
business.
will say that, like, as someone who's had to look for different therapists and, like, whatever, it's so hard to find a therapist. It's like
Yes.
dating.
Yeah, oh my
It
God.
literally
Yeah,
is like dating,
it
and
is.
I tried to find different ones because the therapist I had, like, I just, like, she didn't take the insurance anymore,
Of
whatever, and I
course.
was just like, I can't, like, I just, like, love her, and, like, you just
Yeah,
can't, like, it's like dating. It's like
it
having a
literally
boyfriend or a
is.
girlfriend, like, you need to find the right one that fits
Yes.
everything. Because I've had therapists who, like, literally have gaslit me into thinking it was my
Yep.
fault, and I'm like, "That was not my fault. That
Yes.
was so
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's another big thing too. Always share with my clients. I always tell them it's like dating. I'm like, you
Yeah.
can meet somebody that can be really nice, but it's like not the right fit.
Yeah.
And also, like, you need to advocate for yourself. Just because they're, I think as a society, we've been conditioned that, doctors and everybody, they know everything and
Yeah.
they know a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They know a lot more than me.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're wrong. And a good doctor or therapist will say, I might not be the right fit. I might be wrong. Like,
Yeah.
they'll say that. And so I'm like, if you feel like they are not right for you or they said something or did something that's not making you feel like doesn't feel right with you, I
Yeah.
need you to tell me and we
Yeah.
need to get you connected to somebody else. And
Mhm.
that does not mean there's anything wrong with
Yeah.
you. Like,
If anyone's interested in trying to get a therapist or, like, being matched up with you, where can they find you for that
yeah.
job?
So you can go to findoctave.com and you just fill out like a quick questionnaire and then you can either select a therapist on your own or request to connect with a care navigator.
Mhm.
And we help find a therapist who's in network with your insurance, matches your needs. I think um, something that's also interesting that I've seen kind of a trend, whereas like when I was looking for a therapist when I first started struggling 2005,
Mhm.
because I'm old, it was very different. There was no TikTok, there was no
Yeah.
Instagram. So I didn't even like going to therapy was kind of taboo. Um, but now it's everywhere and
Yeah.
people see all these letters and terms like if you have trauma, you should do EMDR or
Yeah.
there's like DBT, you know all these letters and that's incredibly overwhelming to like look at it on a
Yeah.
website and also I'll find people reach out to us and they're like I think I need EMDR. And then, I assess a little bit further and I'm like, actually, I don't know that that would be the right
Yeah.
fit for you. But I mean, they saw it on a TikTok, so they think
Mhm.
that's what's going to help them. So
Yeah.
we can help you kind of like figure out what actually you're needing and get you matched to
Yeah.
the right. therapist.
And someone's take your Jane Do class. Where can they
Yes.
find you for that?
So they can find me at Jane Do Morristown. You can also go to my Instagram, and I'm at Kelly_Byram, and you can see I'm always posting my class
Mhm.
schedule. But I'm always there Tuesday mornings, Wednesday nights, Saturday mornings.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was
Thanks
really
for
fun,
having
and we had such a
me.
good
I
conversation.
know. I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
Thank you. That's a compliment. Well, then maybe do another episode in the future. Maybe when you have your
Yay!
own clinic or
Yes.
business or something.
We're manifesting it.
Yeah,
It's
we
happening.
are right now. So in 5 years when we come back on the
Yes.
podcast, we'll play this clip right now.
Perfect. I love it.
Thank you again.
Thanks.